Monica checks her savings account balance the way some people check their weight. Every Sunday morning, coffee in hand, same routine for 6 years. And every Sunday, the number is a little bigger than the week before. $31,204 this morning, up from $31,197 last week. She built this account one deposit at a time after watching her sister go through a layoff with nothing in the bank. 3 months of expenses, sitting there, untouched, exactly like every financial checklist told her it should be. Monica has never once felt richer checking that account. What almost nobody tells her is that she has been getting quietly poorer every single Sunday for 6 straight years, and the account statement is specifically designed to make sure she never notices.
My name is Nick, and I spend an unreasonable amount of time reading the fine print banks don't want you to read carefully. If you have money sitting in a savings account right now, hit subscribe, because today we're taking apart the gap between what your bank shows you and what your money can actually buy. And I want to flag something now that we'll come back to. There's a number printed on Monica's bank statement every single month. It's accurate. It's also the wrong number to be looking at, and almost nobody tells you which one to use instead. Let's start with what Monica actually earns. Her bank is one of the 4 largest in the country, the kind that mails you a physical checkbook and has a branch in your grocery store. As of August 2026, the national average interest rate on a traditional savings account is 0.62%. Monica's account pays slightly below that, 0.45%, because her particular bank has never had to compete for her business. She opened it in college. It's simply where her money has always lived.
Now, here's the part her monthly statement never puts next to that number. As of the most recent reading, annual inflation in the United States sits at 3.5%. That is the rate at which the price of everything Monica might eventually spend that money on, groceries, rent, a car repair, a medical bill, is rising. Her bank pays her 0.45% a year to hold her money. The economy is charging her 3.5% a year in lost purchasing power for the privilege of having money at all. Subtract one from the other, and Monica isn't earning anything. She's losing 3.05% of what that money can buy every single year, while the number on the screen goes up. This is the part where I need to be precise, because a lot of finance content gets sloppy right here and calls this a personal failure. It isn't. Monica did the responsible thing. She just did it using the wrong tool. And the tool was designed to look right while quietly doing the wrong job.
Let's put real numbers on it, because a percentage sitting by itself doesn't feel like anything. Take Monica's $31,204. Leave it exactly where it is for 1 year at 0.45%. At the end of that year, her balance reads $31,344. She watches that happen. It feels like progress. It shows up as a small green number in her banking app. But the same basket of goods that cost $31,204 today will cost approximately $32,296 a year from now, because prices are rising at 3.5%. Her balance grew by $140. The cost of living grew by $1,092. She has $952 less real purchasing power than she had 12 months ago. And her bank statement never once used the word less.
Now run that forward, because this is where it stops being a rounding error and starts being a career. Hold that same balance for 10 years, adding nothing, spending nothing, doing exactly what the emergency fund guides tell you to do, and here's what happens to the two numbers separately. Her account balance, compounding at 0.45%, grows to roughly $32,624. Meanwhile, the cost of that same basket of goods, compounding at 3.5% inflation, rises to roughly $44,024. She will have a bigger number in her account than she has today. She will also be able to buy noticeably less with it than she can right now. Both of those things are true at the same time, and only one of them shows up anywhere she's likely to look. This is where I want to introduce Darius, because his version of this trap is worse in a way that's easy to miss entirely. Darius did everything Monica did, and one thing more. He read that keeping cash in a low-rate account was a mistake, so he moved his $18,000 emergency fund into a high-yield savings account, paying 4.10%, comfortably above the national average. Genuinely one of the better rates available in August 2026. He felt like he'd solved the problem. And on the surface, he had. 4.10% against 3.5% inflation means Darius is actually gaining ground, about 0.6% a year in real terms. That's correct, and it's worth saying clearly because the fix here is not complicated or expensive. It's a bank transfer. But Darius made one more decision that undid part of it. His HSA held some of that same emergency cushion, and Darius, like most account holders, never selects an investment option inside it. It sits in the account's default cash sweep, and that default currently pays close to zero, a rate multiple high-yield savings accounts beat several times over. Nobody emailed him to point that out. Nobody sends you a rate sheet comparing your default cash position to what a 15-minute transfer could have earned. He didn't do anything wrong. He just stopped paying attention exactly one step before it mattered.
So where does that 3.5% inflation number actually come from? Because I don't want to hand you a percentage without showing you the machine that produces it. Every month, the Bureau of Labor Statistics tracks the price of a fixed basket of goods and services that represents what a typical household actually buys, everything from groceries and rent to car insurance and haircuts. They compare that basket's total cost this month to what the identical basket cost 12 months earlier. The percentage difference is the inflation rate. It isn't a guess, an opinion, or a mood. It's measured, published, and it applies to your grocery bill whether or not you ever open the report. As of the most recent release, headline inflation sits at 3.5%, down from a 3-year high of 4.2% just 1 month earlier, which tells you something important on its own. This number moves, sometimes significantly, in a matter of weeks, while most savings account rates barely move in a year. That gap between how often prices reset and how often your bank rate resets is where the real damage compounds. Banks are slow to raise what they pay you and fast to lower it. When the Federal Reserve cuts its benchmark rate, savings account yields tend to fall within weeks. When conditions would justify raising what they pay you, banks are in far less of a hurry because the money sitting in Monica's account isn't going anywhere. She isn't shopping for a better rate. She's checking a number that's already comfortable and moving on with her Sunday. Let's talk about why an emergency fund exists at all, because the purpose actually matters here. And it's the reason people get defensive when you point this out. The job of that money is not to grow. Its job is to be there, completely intact, the exact week your car transmission fails or you lose a paycheck. That is a real and completely legitimate need. And nothing in this video argues that Monica should have put her emergency fund into the stock market instead. If she had and needed it during a downturn, she could have been forced to sell at a loss at the worst possible moment, turning an emergency into a crisis. The emergency fund's job is stability, not growth, and a checking account technically achieves that job too. But here's the distinction that gets lost. Stability and a low interest rate are not the same requirement, and treating them as the same requirement is the actual mistake. A high-yield savings account offers the exact same FDIC insurance, up to $250,000 per depositor per bank, the exact same instant access, the exact same-day availability that Monica's checking-adjacent savings account offers. Nothing about safety changes when you move from 0.45% to 4.10%. What changes is that one of them is a rate designed to be competitive and one of them is a rate designed to be forgettable at a bank that already has your loyalty and doesn't need to earn it twice. I'll steelman the other side for a second because it deserves it. There is a real cost to moving money, even a small one. Some people keep cash at their primary bank specifically because it's linked to their checking account, and a transfer during an actual emergency needs to clear in time to pay an actual bill. That's a legitimate operational concern, not a mistake. The fix isn't complicated, though. Most high-yield savings accounts settle transfers to a linked checking account within 1 business day, sometimes same day. And for money you're not spending this week, that's a trivial trade-off against multiple percentage points of return, year after year, compounding the entire time it sits there.
So, who's actually responsible for that gap, sitting quietly in Monica's account for 6 years? It isn't Monica. Nobody at her bank called her and suggested a better rate, because that call costs the bank money twice. Once in the higher rate they'd have to pay her, and once in her never asking the question that call would have prompted. The account statement she receives every month is legally accurate and functionally useless for this purpose. It shows her balance going up. It has never once shown her what that balance can actually buy, because that comparison isn't required, and a bank that profits from her not noticing has no reason to volunteer it. Here's what to actually do with this. Go check the interest rate on whatever account is currently holding your emergency fund. It's usually visible in your banking app in under 30 seconds. Compare it against the current national average and against what the better online banks are paying, because that gap tells you exactly how much ground you're giving up every single year for no additional safety. Then check anywhere else cash might be sitting, on autopilot, an HSA default cash position, an old 401k's cash sweep, brokerage account's uninvested balance, because those are the accounts nobody checks twice, and that's precisely why they're the ones still paying close to nothing. Quick reminder that I'm not a financial advisor, and this isn't financial advice. It's math and public data, and your specific situation has details I can't see from here. If you're in Monica's position right now, none of this is a verdict on you. You did the responsible thing. The account just wasn't built to reward it. Here's what I'd leave you with. We've been trained to ask one question about an emergency fund, which is whether the money is safe. It's the right question, but it's incomplete because it lets a second question hide behind it. Safe from what, exactly? Your money can be completely safe from market risk and still lose a meaningful share of what it can buy every single year, quietly, with your bank's full cooperation and a green number that goes up just enough to keep you from asking. The rate that matters was never the one printed on your statement. It was always the one printed against it.